What's up, guys? This is the Honest Outlaw here, and today we're going to be going over my everyday carry. I didn't want to do this originally, but I've had a bunch of questions about it, and I've had several people ask me to do a full video on it, so I figured I would. So I'm just going to go over some of the systems that I use today, maybe some of the systems that I've used in the past. So I guess for starters, I'll say that I've concealed carried for quite a while. I used to be a 1911 guy. I used to carry SIG 938. I carried a Dan Wesson Guardian, and I carried a SIG 238 pocket carry when I pocket carried. Right now, I carry a G19 when it's available. I carry it not with this holster, but I used to carry it with this holster until the XC1 came out, and now I have a holster that looks exactly like this with a cutout for the XC1. As you can see there, but I couldn't find it, so I just put this one on the table for an example. I usually carry that obviously outside the waistband when I'm going on hikes or when I'm going outside at night to work on whatever I work on. I'm up late at night and I live way out in the middle of nowhere. So when we go on hikes at night or when we do any kind of outdoor stuff and I want to carry a pistol, I usually carry this one. Oftentimes when we're going to the store or doing anything like that, even during the winter when you have a coat that you can conceal it, I also may carry this pistol. Or if I think there's going to be a higher likelihood that I'm going to run into trouble, again, I go with this. For most of the other situations, unless I'm carrying a pistol for testing, which also happens, but for most of other situations, I traditionally carry the G43. Now, I either carry it in this G-code Incog holster, which is I usually carry appendix, although I'm really getting away from that lately. I also carry it in this custom holster that I had made here. Now, I don't exactly remember who made it, and I would like to give credit, so maybe I'll put it in the description if I find it. But it is a leather outside the waistband holster. And that couldn't be less tactical, honestly. I just really, really like that style of holster, and I'll tell you why here in a second. I carry the G19 with a standard 15-round magazine, and when I carry that, I usually carry a G17 mag as backup. When I carry the G43 and I carry a backup magazine, I usually carry the either the extended 7-round magazine, and I carry the magazine with the finger groove. But if I carry appendix, I usually run the 6-round magazine just because it hits me in my stomach a little bit less. But a lot of times when I carry the G43, I don't even remember to carry a spare mag, so I usually just run the 7-round magazine. Now, if you don't think that's enough ammunition, you have to remember that 7 rounds of 9mm plus 1 in the tube is 8 rounds. That's the same amount of capacity that your standard 1911 has. However, this only weighs, I think my G43 weighs 22 ounces fully loaded, and my 1911 that I just did a review on the other day is 43 ounces empty. I also carry a knife. Now, there are every once in a while days where I don't carry a pistol, but there hasn't been a single day in the past at least 5 years where I haven't carried a knife. Most of the time, my knife is my secondary weapon. It also has lots of other uses, including opening up boxes, packages. I'm a tree trimmer, and occasionally I'm eating outdoors on tailgates, things like that. It's good for food preparation as well. It's just a really good all-around tool. Most of the time, however, I'm carrying the Spyderco Endura 4. I have carried these, you can see how dirty that knife is. That's because I use it. Right now it's pretty dull as well. I like the bottom serrated because as being a tree trimmer, I cut ropes and things like that quite often. And if I got into an emergency and had to cut my line, it's just easier to cut with the serrated. At least I have found that to be so. Another thing I really, really like with the Spyderco, I'm not going to give you too many details because I haven't done a full review yet, but I plan to, is you can switch the clip from one side to the other. I actually carry my knife in the left pocket of my jeans and my pistol on the right side of my body. Now, the reason for that is if I go for my pistol and I'm not able to for whatever reason, let's say I get pinned up against a door or I hit the ground or he's got my arm behind my back or whatever, I have an option to go with a secondary weapon. Now, I used to do jiu-jitsu and I used to be a boxer and things like that, so I've gotten a couple of scraps in my lifetime, and I can tell you that if you're ever in a fight, and that's where you'll be if you have to use your everyday carry, it's never an optimal situation. Never is. You either get hit from behind. There's been a couple times in bars where I've been choked from behind, and I just like to have options with both hands. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not tactical enough to carry 2 pistols. I don't think I'll ever have to run into a situation where I'll need that much firepower. So I usually run 1 pistol. I don't usually run a backup. But I like to have 2 weapons, and a knife is really small, lightweight, easy to conceal, very slim, and it's also incredibly lethal in close quarters if you know how to use it. Another knife I carry quite a bit lately, I got this a couple of months ago, is the Benchmade Griptilian. I really like it because of how it looks, and I wanted to get something that I could deploy a little bit easier one-handed, so I went with this. However, I would have to say I still prefer the Spyderco a little bit over this. Spoiler alert there, just simply because of the width. The weight, this is actually a little bit lighter, at least it feels like it in hand. It's got a little bigger blade, as you can see there. And it's significantly thinner, which I really like. I think the biggest dimension as far as carrying a knife on you goes is the width. Simply because you put it in your pocket, it's kind of in an awkward spot, and you have to get past it a lot of times to grab your wallet or your phone or whatever you need to. So for me, I prefer the Spyderco. Now, a lot of people are going to be asking me why I carry outside the waistband. Just personal preference, really. I don't see any extreme advantages to appendix carry, as far as I know. A lot of people say you can cover the gun and you can use it in a lot of situations where you couldn't otherwise. You could say that about inside the waistband or outside the waistband. They all have advantages or disadvantages. The most important thing for me is getting the pistol out in the fight as quick as possible. Statistically, that's really all you need to do. Fire a couple rounds here or there. Most concealed carry situations you're going to run into are not lethal, but it's really, really important to get that pistol out and get it going, regardless of whether you hit them or not, really. I know if somebody was shooting at me, I would run away, but I'm not taking away from the accuracy department. Definitely get a pistol you can make hits and put the threat down with. But for me, I can get the pistol out a little bit easier. And if I'm on the ground, if I'm in a guard position, if somebody's kicking me or something like that, I just feel more confident I can get the pistol out from the outside the waistband position. Another reason why I choose, and this is probably the main reason, is because it's more comfortable for me. Especially with a leather holster over Kydex. I've tried them all, and like I said, I carried appendix for quite a while, and I found that it just rubs my stomach, and I don't really care for it. And the most important thing about concealed carry is having the gun on you. A lot of guys who say they carry full-size 1911s or CZs or whatever, if you check them on a regular basis, they probably don't have that pistol. And a bad guy is not going to allow you time to restart on your draw or let you go to your truck or let you drive to your house. So if you got to carry a 22 or a little Jetfire or something like that to make sure you carry all the time, at least all the time that you want to. You know, I'm not one of those guys who say that everybody should concealed carry. You should concealed carry if you feel comfortable. But if you decide to choose to carry a pistol and you leave it in your truck, that's not going to do you any good, is my point that I'm getting at here. So I think it's more comfortable. I'm a pretty tall guy, so I don't have that much of an issue concealing things. And honestly, I live in a state where open carry is legal, so even if I'm at Menards and my shirt goes up and some lady freaks out, well, it's still legal, and I'm not that concerned about it. I would rather have my gun and freak people out every once in a while than not have it at all. The cons to a leather holster, even though they're more comfortable, are going to be draws are maybe a little bit slower. You just feel a little bit more resistance when you draw the pistol out. That's one of the reasons why I had a custom-made pistol and I have a straight drop as opposed to a cant. One of the reasons for that is because the G43 is a really small pistol and I don't have to worry so much about it getting into my car seat and things like that. So I prefer straight drop holsters. Everything else I carry is straight drop. You'd be surprised how hard it is to find a holster for the G43 that is not canted, that is leather, and outside the waistband. So I had to do a lot of searching, but I really like this holster and I really like the system. As far as outside the waistband for the G19, I go with Kydex just because that's kind of all I had before, and I only carry this every once in a while, so I haven't really upgraded. I have thought about there's a holster company that I forget right off the top of my head, but it has a Kydex holster with the leather inside straps throughout the waistband. Don't be surprised if you see that on the channel in the future. One thing I forgot about right off the bat is belts. A lot of people tell you that a belt makes your carry system, and I would agree with that, especially if you're going to carry a lot of weight. However, the G43 is what I traditionally carry, and it's not very heavy. I think it's only 22 ounces fully loaded. So for me, I can get away with pretty much wearing whatever belt I want. However, I do wear a 1.5 inch leather belt just to give it that little extra heft to it that I need. Because if you have too skimpy of a belt, your concealed carry is either going to start to move around on you, or you're just going to definitely feel it more instead of it being snug to your body and kind of just a part of you. So if you're having troubles with your concealed carry, especially if you carry a bigger gun, maybe go to a higher quality belt. There's lots of them out there. You can get leather, you can get styles like the Aries gear makes a really, really good one. But there's lots of belts out there you can look for, and I don't have mine on the table because I didn't want to zoom out, number one, and number two, because, like I said, just get a rough belt and you'll be good to go. As far as lights, like I said before, if I'm going on hikes at night, stuff like that, somewhere out in the outdoors where there's not any ambient light, I usually run a weapon light, and occasionally I will have a handheld light, which is I usually use a Surefire G2X or something like that, I think it is. I'm not a light guy. But do you need it? I really don't think you do. A lot of guys will tell you that you do, but those are the same guys that tell you that you need 3 freaking pistols. Most of the places that I go that there are people at will have at least enough light for me to address whether he's a threat or not. Home defense is a completely different story because lots of people can walk in your house where there's no light at all, but for the most part, I don't imagine you would be walking around in the alleys with there's no light. But if you are, carry a light. This is my EDC here, and it's about my lifestyle. If your lifestyle is different, and most of your guys' are, change up your system for your lifestyle. If you're outside at night a lot of times in situations where you shouldn't be, and you feel like you need a light, by all means carry one. A couple other things I carry really quick that are not on the table are going to be my cell phone. That's number one. I carry my wallet, and in my wallet I have a couple of things, just small survival gear. I have a paracord bracelet on me. I have a book of matches in my wallet. Just, I have lots of stuff in my truck, which I'm going to go through a whole truck gun video in the future. But as far as my everyday carry, you're pretty much looking at it. Traditionally, if you're going to see me on the street, you are going to see this. Move these out of the way here. Move that one out of the way. That's my carry. And again, a lot of you guys aren't going to be comfortable with this small of a pistol. I used to carry a 380 off and on quite a bit. I still will carry the G42 occasionally. However, I don't like the idea of penetration with the 380 in the winter, because in the winter here, most people wear heavy clothing or extra clothing. There's a lot more layers that you have to go through to hit those vital areas. So I like the 9mm for an all-purpose, especially because the G43 is not that much heavier than the G42. And now that I carry outside the waistband, I don't really notice it at all. I'm comfortable with only having around 13 rounds of ammunition. I'm okay with that. I'm a pretty big guy. I have some martial arts skills, and I think that's extremely important also. Because remember that this gun and this knife are only tools that help you get the job done. You are the weapon. So your training, if you're a trained person who has, I don't know, a high point, and you go up against a guy that's out of shape, who doesn't have any training at all, most likely, if you're up close and personal, you're going to be able to handle that situation with your hands or with your feet or with grappling or whatever you need to do. Especially if you're good enough with your hands that you don't have to shoot somebody. I hope, even though I carry a gun, I carry it to protect my family and my wife mainly. I hope to never shoot somebody someday, and I hope nobody forces me to make that decision. If you like the video, please share it, like it, and subscribe if you want to see future videos. If you don't, that's okay. Please help out your local homeless shelters, and remember to recycle. Check you later.
The light is behind it. Well, maybe there we go. This is what we deal with.
Yeah.
He is in a boot, people. It is also raining. I'd like you to notice. I don't know.
Get some momentum going. I'm pretty good.
Okay, well that's far enough.
Yeah.
Gimpy McGee.
What?
I said that's far enough, Gimpy McGee.
Whatever. Hold on.
That it?
Yeah.
Good.